Hi everyone, this is Aaron. We're here at FCBC Walnut, and we're going to talk about this new music project that was just released, Christ Our Shelter. We have some friends from FCBC Walnut here. Why don't you guys go down the line and introduce yourself with your name and what your role was on this project?
Sure. My name is Ray, and I am one of the producers on the project.
My name is Matthew. I also helped produce the project, and I also helped record the different instrumentalists and musicians that came by.
I'm Kristen. I'm also a co-producer, and I helped with recordings and coordinating the artists for the cover artwork.
Hi, I'm Alvin. I guess I'm one of the producers as well. My main role is also doing the videos and editing all those contents for you guys to see.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I guess I'm one of the producers as well too. So I do that. I also did the mixing and I play for some of the violin tracks in the project.
Well, thank you guys for doing this project and sharing it with our church. Ray, how did this project come about? This was something that we haven't done before at church, I don't think. Can you let us know about that?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever done something to this degree. But yeah, the project basically came about during the pandemic. I was going out for a jog one day, and I was listening to this album by Keith and Kristen Lee. It's called the Life of Christ, or the Quintology album, where it's just basically songs that talk about the life of Christ. And I kind of thought that it would be kind of cool to do something similar, but just in one album where it encompasses all the different themes of the Bible and everything. And so I thought it would be a really cool idea to do. And so I decided to reach out to the Kamaso group, because we had been doing the online worship, and knowing that we had the resources and we've been kind of doing this recording for several months now. Why don't we actually put this into something with higher production and higher value and everything? So that's kind of how the idea kind of came about. So we decided to meet, and they were graciously kind enough to want to embark in this journey with me and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect time for a project like this. And you mentioned Kamaso. So Kamaso is the name of your violin, string, cello quartet. And you've recorded different things with your group, with Kamaso Quartet, before. Matt, can you tell me what it was like to record this project, Christ Our Shelter?
Sure. I think this project was an interesting task for me, because it was my first time actually really being in the spot of a recording engineer and having to go into a room, set it up, and assist with whoever is what's coming in. And I think because of the pandemic, we also made sure we had a separate location for me and also the person recording. So it also became a bit of a recording booth kind of situation. And it was cool to be able to, there's also interact with people in that sort of manner, especially with some of them that I didn't really even talk to very much in the past at church. We've always seen each other, but being able to interact in this kind of situation was a really nice thing to develop that kind of, relationship as well.
What I appreciate about the project is that it wasn't just a random assortment of songs. I think you guys tried to have a theme for each song. It was almost like a concept album. Kristen, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I think what we had planned was we kind of listed out the common themes of the Bible. So things like creation and God's wisdom, suffering and hope, the birth of Christ, resurrection of Christ, and heaven. So we listed all those out, and we tried to pick songs that our church sang often, and just pick songs that touch upon those themes, and then we narrowed it down to 12.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about some certain songs. The album opens with All Creatures of Our God and King. Now, Alvin, you were the producer of this track.
Right.
And can you tell me about the certain mood that you wanted to have for this song? I think each song has a different mood that you guys have going on.
Right.
Can you speak to this one?
I think particularly for this one, typically in worship, we have a set worship, and I think during that set, there's always a neutral tone of an opener. It's never too slow, never too quick. And so in this sense that All Creatures song that we together recorded, it wasn't, I guess, too quick and it wasn't too slow at the same time. So I thought it was a perfect song to go along with All Creatures, the beginning of creation and stuff like that. So it's a good tone to set for the rest of the album. So I think at first we were trying to look for singers and everything like that, and so we thought of Bang Bang's team. We thought it was a old enough song for them to be, they recognize the song a lot easier than, I guess, the newer songs nowadays. And so we kind of assigned them, or had that kind of mentality in mind, at least for me. And I think the rest of the team agreed. So that's kind of the mood map that I looked at.
That song had a lot of vocalists on it. There were some songs, though, that had no vocalists on it, so they were instrumental tracks. And Aaron, I think you were in charge of at least one of them. Yet Not I was one of them.
Yeah, it's actually the only track in our album that has instrumental only. I always think it's important to recognize the instrumentalists in a worship team. A lot of times the people in the front are the ones who are singing the lyrics, and especially in like a church like ours, where we have people from very different backgrounds. Not everyone is fluent in English. They don't considerably understand exactly what they're singing and the weight of what they're singing. Sometimes that is a kind of language barrier that it just translates better in their native language. And I think that instrumentalists are a great way to kind of show this kind of idea of language kind of transcends this kind of idea. It's like people know the tune, and through the tune they're able to kind of draw the meaning from it, and it's not so dependent on like the English language. And so like I thought that having an album with just only vocalists was kind of pointing it towards this kind of idea that people should understand the music through the lyrics. But I think that having a song that's just instrumental only was a good way to kind of show, I guess, like the congregation that like it's more than just the things you sing. It's really about the heart of how people sing it, and like it doesn't require you to have English proficiency to be able to understand what you're trying to sing.
And I appreciate that. I think you and I have seen eye to eye before on instrumentalists also being worship leaders, using that term to apply to instrumentalists too. So yeah, I appreciate having that track on there. Ray, I want to talk about the title, Christ Our Shelter. How did that come about?
Yeah, so the original title of this project was just called the Worship Hymn Project because I guess the idea that I had was just specifically hymns or modern hymns that we would be including in this album or this project. But over time, as we kind of finalized or narrowed down the songs, it became more clear that it was a combination of hymns, modern hymns, and some even newer worship songs like King of Kings and Yet Not I. And so we decided to kind of just play around with different titles, and so we came up with a few. But I guess the one that really stood out among all of us was called Christ Our Shelter. And I guess the idea of that title came from a combination of wanting to focus the title on the word Christ, or the name Christ, because all the songs really has a really high focus on Christ and everything. And so we wanted to, or at least I wanted to include Christ in the title. And then the shelter part was really playing along with the idea of during the pandemic we were all just sheltered at home as we were worshiping, and so that's how we came about with the name Christ Our Shelter, because we did this during the pandemic, and at the same time wanted to have the name Christ in our title as our main focus there.
I love the focus on Christ, and I love the intentionality behind the title. Also, the purposeful song selection. One of my favorites was The Perfect Wisdom of Our God. Matt, I believe you were the producer on that track, but what makes that one stand out to me as well is that it was only piano and vocals. I believe it was Robin that was the vocalist on that one. Can you tell me about that decision to make it just piano and vocals as compared to the other tracks?
Sure. I think whenever I sing that song, I always view it as, in the end, it's like a prayer in the end, and I think it has a very intimate selection of words by the writers, the Gettys. And I think having just piano and vocals allows it to have that kind of, I guess, prayerful attitude to the song. And I think I also wanted to allow Robin to be able to do what she wanted with singing melody, singing harmony, and kind of harmonizing for her own voice as she wanted. Because I remember whenever I sang with her on worship for Sundays. I always enjoyed the way she developed harmonies with melodies, and I wanted to see what she would do with her own melody. So I wanted to give her that chance to also to explore that a little bit.
Kristen, you are in charge of the artwork for the tracks and for the album, and I believe you're also going to have like different artwork for each track, right? Can you talk to me about the meaning and the purpose behind that and just trying to get other people involved?
Yeah, so I think the beginning we weren't sure how we were going to be releasing these tracks, but once it was decided upon that we wanted to be releasing through YouTube, I figured it might be nice to have a visual component to the songs that would complement the music well. So I reached out to a lot of artists from our church who are actually on your lettering team, many of them who are familiar with doing artwork for our church. I contacted them and just asked to see who would be interested in helping contribute artwork for our project. And yeah, I heard back from enough people where we could have a unique cover art for each song that we had on the album. And I just gave them, I was able to send them drafts of the song so they could listen to it and kind of let the music inspire them for their artwork, and just to allow them to reflect on what the title Christ Our Shelter means for them, and just let them infuse that meaning into their artwork. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love how you're pulling different artists into this, and I appreciate, like, I think the blending of art and technology and music to create a whole project. Like, it's not just music, you're actually putting together artwork and even these interviews with the videos that we're doing. Alvin, I know that you're the one that's mostly doing the video, I think, right?
Yeah.
Can you speak to, I guess, the broader Asian American church context about how we can better use technology and music and art all together for the gospel and for Christ?
I guess, to be honest, like it's not just Asian American churches. I think any church who has the potentials of, or passion for video making, tech, and that type of stuff, they could incorporate that in their ministry somehow. I think music is definitely a good thing, right? I think visuals also add a huge thing. They're both complementing each other. And so I think what churches could do is probably just, utilize that tool a little bit more, especially during these times where everyone's kind of sheltered at home and working from home or worshiping from home. I think through online, through videos, through this new technology that we are blessed with, we can definitely use that as a tool to further our means to worship, as well as spreading whatever meanings we had through music, as well as the video itself. So I think it's definitely a good tool for every church. So yeah.
No, you're absolutely right, and I agree with you 100%. It's not just Asian American churches. I think what my problem is that I'm just stuck here at FCBC Walnut, and that's my mindset. But Aaron, you're actually not attending FCBC Walnut right now physically. You're actually living up north, right?
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, you did come back down for these special things. Mm-hmm. What does doing this project mean to you since you've been away for a little while?
Yeah, I guess, like, for anyone who's watching doesn't know, I grew up at this church, and, I came and went, and I came back for a while, and recently I moved up to the Bay Area, and so I'm no longer really physically with the church here. And I guess, like, it kind of goes back to what I kind of believe with church being my family, and kind of like my parents' home. Like, I come and go, when it's time to come home, I'm back here. My parents welcome me with open arms. And when it's time for me to go out and do what I need to do, I leave, and they kind of give me a good send-off. And, like, I guess, like, being part of this project and continuing to be able to stay in touch with FCBC throughout this pandemic year is really good to kind of remind me that, FCBC is my family, and the church is my family. And it's not just because I have my membership here or I'm attending here that I'm part of the church. It's, it's a broader context kind of thing where God has blessed, I guess, all of us with gifts and talents to use where we're supposed to be at, But at the same time, there's always a family that you have, and there's always a home to return to, and that home is always there to welcome you, and knowing that it's always been there, it's always been very empowering for me. And so like being part of this project kind of reminded me of that. Like I have a family here down here, and I can do what I do up in the Bay Area because I have a strong foundation here that remembers me and continues to leverage me personally. And so that's kind of, I guess, what it means for me.
The emphasis on family is something that's really meaningful to me. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but earlier when we were first talking about this project, I emailed you and I said, who's your main audience? What is this for? And I think it was for let's do it for FCBC Walnut. And so I guess to close our conversation, I want to go down the line and just say, how does it feel for the project to be done? And what are your hopes for this Christ Our Shelter project, either for FCBC Walnut or just putting it out there on the internet? We'll go with Ray and we'll go down the line.
Yeah, it feels really awesome to be able to complete this project. I think we started this back in December of last year. I know we've been meeting for a long time now, and so this whole process and this journey, it's taken a while, and so it just feels really nice to be able to just accomplish a goal. But also, I guess my hope and prayer for everybody who's listening to the album is that they would just be blessed by it, and then those who are non-believers who are listening to the song, if they can come to Christ through this project, that would be my hope and prayer as well. And those who are going through a hard time during this pandemic or during this or a hard time in life, I guess my hope and prayer too for them would that these songs would just be comforting to their souls and provide peace and solace to them.
Yeah, for me, I feel like this another project feels like both a culmination of a lot of things we've learned and done during this pandemic period. And I think one of my hopes for this project is that it does serve almost like a bit of a time capsule for us as like individuals and also as a church family. Because I think that's one of the cool things about like recorded art. It always contains something very personal and unique that only happened in that moment, in that sense. So I think as we look back on this, I think it would be a nice way to just see how we got to this project and also see where we went on after it.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts. It kind of feels like the voice of our church is now like forever immortalized on the internet.
For better or worse.
Yeah, and I think my hope too is just for it to be a source of comfort, that it can be shared with others as like a witness to Christ. And yeah, just something that we can all listen back on and just reflect on Christ and what he's done.
Yeah, just echoing everyone else. But for me personally, I think it's the first time FCBC as a family has gathered these musicians, these worship leaders to put together this album together. And so I think for me personally, it's definitely a huge milestone, especially during this time. And so what I hope for this album to be for others is to kind of encourage them, as well as, lift up anything they're going through, like what Ray said. And so hopefully, it's not just to our church here, but hopefully maybe to spread the gospel to non-Christians and stuff like that. And so hopefully our music kind of speaks to them somehow. But I definitely think this is a big milestone for me personally as well, because I've never done such a, big project or album in general. And so hopefully it'll touch the hearts of a lot of people.
I think for me, what I really want to see from this project, for lack of a better term, I was like, I would like the broader church to a certain degree think that they could do better. In the sense that I want them to look at us and be like, they did a good job, but they could have done something better. And I want to see them do it better than we do. I want to encourage them to take their gifts and their congregation and what their church has to offer, and really use those talents and gifts to minister to their body as well. I'm not a musician. I am a musician, but I'm not a recording engineer by trade. This is something I picked up. This is something I'm learning all the time. I'm not the best one out there. I don't know what I'm doing, and I want that to serve as a testament to everyone out there who has thoughts that they have for their church, their local church, and say like if they can do something like this and it could be well received, then perhaps they can do something in their church and run something that can encourage their body as well in their own context. And so that's kind of what I would like to see, maybe from SCBC. Like I know that there's a lot of talent out there in the church, but also the grander church, for them to look inwardly and know what kind of gifts they're given and see how they could use that gift to minister in the church, to minister to the congregation, and to minister to, I guess, that globally as well.
Well, thank you for sharing your hearts with our people and with the internet, and thank you for allowing me to see a little bit behind the scenes. I love looking at projects and seeing how did they do this, but it does mean a lot to me because I know each of you personally, and it's been my privilege and pleasure to serve with you on music ministry and to see you use and develop your gifts and talents. I think this project is going to be a great blessing. Thank you for sharing it with me and with everybody else. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, this is Ray. I just want to say thank you to all of those that participated on this project. Also want to send a special shout out to Uncle Raymond and Auntie Marine for allowing us to be able to use the church facilities on the weekends to be able to record. And also another special shout out to Aaron Lee for also interviewing us today as well, and also being a special advisor to us when we needed something from him or had a question for him. So again, just really thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing this, and we hope that you guys enjoyed the album. And I'll see you guys. You guys want to say anything? Or...
Yeah, I think you
said it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray, as well.
Yeah, thank you, Ray.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.